Hello there, Eagles fans, and welcome back to our Eagles Therapy Podcast. My name is Basil,
And I'm Baz.
and we are here recording on Friday, September 15th, 2023, the day after the Eagles' second victory of the season, first victory at home over the Minnesota Vikings. What do you got to say, Dad?
Well, it was a great game. I'm glad they pulled it out. Again, we jet it to a big lead, and then we falter there a little bit. There was a lot of good takeaways from this game. Of course, there's other could have put it away, but we're getting there. We'll get there. Get there.
Yeah, looking at the bar stats over at Frankie's Bar and Grill, what do we have? About 70 people, we said?
Yeah, from what I heard, we had 69 people, and we had a nice shout out. There was about 40 people that were visitors from out of town. We had the Fallen Firefighters Memorial event here in Colorado Springs coming up tonight and tomorrow, and there was because of COVID, they had 2 years where they didn't have that event. So this year, they're going to be adding 572 names to the wall. So a lot of people from Philadelphia were out here, and they found out about the bar and came out. And it was nice chatting with them. We had a good time. It was really fun. I mean, it was surprising for a Thursday night to have that many people. Normally on a weeknight game, we don't get that many people out there. But, it was nice to have them come out. And we just get to talk to them. One of the members of our group also is involved in dog therapy for some of the families, and she knew him, and it was really nice. Like I said, we were having chats and talks, and took some pictures and posted them up on our Facebook page, which is the Philadelphia Eagles Fan Club of Colorado Springs. If you ever get a chance, to take a look at it. And it was a good night. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was a good time.
Absolutely. Yeah, shout out to Kimmy and her therapy dog. And before we jump into it, we want to just go over the episode. We're going to be talking about, of course, the recap of the game, talking about what we want to see more of, the chosen players that we had last week, MVP. We'll be starting a new segment we'll talk about a little bit later. We'll talk about in other news, the Phillies, touch on them a little bit, some injury reports, and then we'll be doing our outro and say some stuff about an old Eagles legend or pro or all pro. We'll figure out who we're talking about. He's going to be choosing that player this week. Before we jump into it again, just the Philadelphia Eagles Fan Club of Colorado Springs. Please join us. We'd love to have you on the page, and obviously every single game, as we always say, we meet at Frankie's Bar and Grill over on Powers and Galley here in Colorado Springs. So love to see you there. Going to be playing again Monday, September 25th. That'll be the next game that we play there. But come on down. We'd love to have you there. Jumping on into it, we're going to talk about the Eagles and the Vikings recap. So the Eagles won 34-28. A little bit, like he said, a little bit of an up and down game overall. A pretty fun game to watch as far as a fan goes. For an Eagles fan, of course, you want to win 34-0. But as far as a fan of the NFL, I'm sure that was considered a great game because, man, that was back and forth a lot. What do you have to say, Dad? Yeah,
for the people that aren't Eagles fans, I mean, it was a good game to watch. It was exciting, entertaining. There was a lot of goods and bads. I did a little watching this morning, and a lot of people, the Eagles they're not there. They're not like they were last year in the Super Bowl. Well, let's remember, gang, it's week 2 of the NFL season. We got some new players. We have 2 new coordinators this year. We lost a few players also. I don't see how you could even be thinking about how well you're supposed to be running an offense at this point in the season, or a defense. Just a quick recap, our offense got the ball going, which was something we were looking for this week. And I think by the end of the third quarter, most of those NFL fans out there in some of the cities that aren't fans of the Philadelphia Eagles were going, I'm going to be a little worried now. They look like they've got it going. And, oh, my gosh, they can't throw the ball. All right, let's wait a few weeks.
Yeah.
I thought I saw a couple of nice bombs, and if we had thrown it a little bit deeper, we would have had 2 easy touchdowns in that game. It's true. Hurts looked a little bit out of sync.
Yeah.
The offensive line looked pretty weak early. Didn't look very good. I don't think our guards were quite there yet. We had a few unfortunate penalties and a few penalties that were not called, but everybody's got to deal with that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that as the team gets a little more respect, we get some of those calls, because my goodness, that one call was, and I know I scream a lot of times about some of the calls, but I saw some defensive line being held big time.
Absolutely.
And there wasn't even a mention of it. And of course, with the debacle we had with the Kansas City Detroit game, with the guy lining up, moving the whole time, you'd think there'd be a little more watching of it, And the other thing was, the referees, although they're not probably following who's playing, they knew that the offensive line for the Vikings were down to their second and third string
left
linemen.
tackle, and
And, I'm looking for just one call. They didn't get a penalty until almost fourth quarter from
it
what
was
I
bad,
thought.
really bad.
But, some of the calls I can understand, but, let's keep it fair, right? Okay, so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Go ahead and talk about the offense. Pass offense, of course, like you mentioned, just wasn't hitting it for a while. They did settle in the second half. And, of course, why do you think that happened? Because the run game was unbelievable. I mean, this run game is incredible, averaging, for Swift, 6.3 yards a carry. Sweat averaged 8 yards a carry. After that, Hurts, of course, had only a little 2.9, and then Penny just averaged 3 yards a carry, but he only got 3 carries, so what are you going to do about that?
Right.
But overall, unbelievable showing for the run game. The whole entire third quarter and fourth quarter, it felt like the holes in the offensive line were big enough for two of me to fit through.
Yeah.
Easily. So the run game was unbelievable, and I think that really helped the pass game settle in. To touch on the defense had 3 forced fumbles. Overall, we had 4, but 1 was on special teams. I'll get to that. The defense had 3 forced fumbles. Josh Sweat, of course, had one of them with that beautiful sack. Could have had another 2 sacks if they weren't holding him so immensely. Jordan Davis had a great sack, and then of course we'd love to talk about Fletcher Cox had that fumble return that got us down to the 6-yard line for us to easily punch in a go-ahead touchdown. Overall, special teams played well. Not as well as the first game, I thought. They did have the 1 forced fumble, which was great by, I believe Keely Ringo. Or no, I'm sorry. It was Justin Evans on the forced fumble for that one. Or no, he had the forced fumble on. He had the forced fumble on defense. So I don't know who it was for that.
Evans forced the fumble that we got, and then I think Morrow recovered that.
Yeah, that was on defense.
And Keely Ringo recovered Covey's fumble on our own punt return.
Good job, Ringo.
So, yeah.
I think Avonte Maddox had a forced fumble. Maybe it was on the
But, real quick,
teams.
that's one of the things, we've had these injuries. And, I say it every year. And, we got a bunch of our young guys playing some positions yesterday.
Yeah.
And I always say, get those young guys in the game early and let them play. Unfortunately, we haven't built a good lead up so we can have them play in that situation. But they're playing in the, there were some errors out there for some of the guys doing some of the covering, but they got their time. We're talking. Evans got to play, Ringo got to play, Sidney Brown got to play.
Yeah,
it was amazing to see them out there.
They're getting some meaningful snaps, which is big
definitely.
Deal.
That's what you got to do. I've said it for years, and get that. Get your new defensive lineman, get him into play. Now Street got to play one, which unfortunately was not
lined up offsides.
Yes, and
when we would have recovered a fumble,
exactly, and that's where a veteran's got to say, get back. And I don't think that was the only. I think that was the only snap he was in. But I'm saying, get him in the game, even in a meaningful game. Not in garbage time. So with all those DBs and safeties cornerbacks that we put in, they got some time.
Absolutely.
And it's unfortunate that Blankenship's out, Bradbury was out. Maddox got hurt
left early, which we'll touch on again.
But that's where we just have to say, we got those guys in the game, and the other surprise was Morrow, who wasn't even on the squad week 1.
Yeah, he was on the practice squad,
and he's played fantastic.
He played
yesterday.
Amazing. He played phenomenal yesterday.
So Cunningham played well the first week, who we were a little bit nervous about.
Yeah, and
then here Morrow played out of his mind, and then of course my player that I picked to watch this week didn't even get in the game, I don't believe, because I didn't see him. But Ellis, the linebacker,
we'll get to that in a second.
I expected him to be out there, and here comes Morrow. So, yes, it was amazing.
Yeah. To go more into special teams, of course, Britton Covey had that fumble. That was kind of rough, like you mentioned. Keely Ringo, thankfully, was there to recover that, or that whole game. That game might be a completely different game.
True.
As far as the fumble, though, it's funny because last week, of course, I was telling everyone at the bar, I was saying, oh, yeah, I said Covey never fumbles, so now I look like an idiot. But when I said that, I mostly meant he just catches, he fields the ball really well. Getting hit changes everything, of course. So,
well, it's because everybody wants that punter to return it for 50 yards, and you're like, no, let's just.
How about you just catch the ball?
That's right.
All right, Rager, just catch the ball.
Yeah.
Jumping on over to Elliott, Ezekiel Elliott, of course, had probably one of the biggest plays of the entire game, hitting another 61-yard field goal. I know a lot of people, we were comparing it to the Giants game, of course, back in 2017. That was week 3. This is week 2. So I know a lot of people were kind of like, oh, that was week 2, wasn't it? It was week 3. This was week 2.
Yeah.
Now, of course, still just unbelievable. And a great job by the offense getting them down into position to have him, just let him have a chance, especially after we had scored our first touchdown. We got that touchdown to go up to 10, and then that field goal to go up to 13. huge play and just a huge spark. It felt like to the offense and the defense entirely. Siposs, unfortunately, really bad outing for him. As a punter, he had a long punt of 44 yards. He did have two inside the 20.
See, that's the thing. Now, again, I know we want a 55-yard average, kind of like the punter on their team, and
Yeah.
that definitely he kicked a few. But if you're pumping two inside the 20, I mean, that could have meant he had a 30-yard kick with
Yes.
yards and all that thing. And we'll take that inside the 20, but we kicked, I know, one from the 5 or 10, and we needed a boomer, and that was the one. The guy caught at the 50, ran it back to our 35, and then fumbled. Luckily, Evans punched it out, and we recovered it. But yeah, that was where we kind of saw the punt team and the special teams that we were so nervous about.
Yeah.
But getting back to Elliott's field goal, huge part of the game when Justin Jefferson fumbled it out of the end zone. Now, there's been a lot of talk, but we're kind of about how that's a bad, should be a bad penalty. You shouldn't get the ball. I mean, there's no alternative. You dive and that ball goes in out of the end zone. It goes to the defense. I mean, or defense at the time. But the biggest thing was, why does it go to the 20? It should go to the 25.
Yeah.
That's when you have a play like that. I'm not a big fan of that diving to the pylon thing anyway. I've never liked that. But you lose possession and it goes into the end zone and it's our ball. There's no question.
Yeah. I'm not fielding complaints about that right now. As an Eagles fan, I've had a lot of calls go against my way in my lifetime, and that's happened to my team before, and I didn't hear anybody complain about it then. And I'll also want to touch on another thing that happens a lot. We get the Jalen Hurts rush, the QB sneak right up the middle, and everyone gets upset, and they say, it's unstoppable. It's not fair. Well, week 1, 3 teams attempted it. None of them got it, except for the Eagles. So, I remember Tom Brady doing that for 22 years, and no one said anything about it. So my quarterback, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Siposs only averaged, unfortunately, a 37.5 average. But like we said, that is altered by the fact that he probably was only booming a 35-yard punt. Just to get him inside the 20, you don't want to get that touchback. So that's probably why that average is brought down a little bit. But overall, good showing by the special teams, great showing by the defense. Of course, dealing with some injuries, unfortunately, with Bradbury out and then losing Maddox. I thought Goodrich stepped in and played okay. He played well enough to get us through the game.
Growing pains.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the offense, I'd love to see more from the pass game, but the running game was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Which brings me into my next spot, what I want to ask you. What do we want to see more of? What do you want to see more of?
Well, I think it's obvious at this point now, it's the passing game.
Yeah.
The one thing that's gotten me is, we also always used to have that nice little tight end screen to Goddard. And boy, it is being sniffed out by every team so far. And it's not even a yard or two. Now, I know it counts to the blocking by your wide receiver on the outside, but if they know it's coming, it's not going to work. And it has not worked. And, really Goddard has not gotten his track yet in the last 2 games. But again, when you're winning and you're running for 259 yards as a team, but not just that, we ran almost 10 times more yards than the Vikings. They had 28 yards rushing. We had 259. Throw another 21 on that, we would have had 280 yards, which is 10 times their rushing yards. Now, they threw for 300 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, we threw for 170.
193.
Okay.
Yeah,
well, there's probably sacks in there. I saw 170 as a total. But if you had 170 times 10, we would have thrown for over 1,000 yards, okay? I know that's goofy math, but still, when you run 10 times more than the other team, yardage-wise, and it's so funny because I watched a couple shows, and, well, the Vikings, they should have won the game. They had 4 turnovers. Now, when you let the other team run for 259 yards, and that's really in only 3 quarters, maybe. I mean, it was essentially, because we didn't really do much in the first quarter. So you're talking 3 quarters, and it changed. It didn't just change the game; it changed our season.
Yeah,
because now we know we can run the ball. Now
Absolutely.
The next 5 weeks we've got, before we hit that hard part of our season, we're going to run the ball.
Yeah,
and then you try and stop it, and if you can't stop it, we're going to throw the ball too.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
I mean, there's no way to get nervous yet. We got plenty of season to go. The biggest problem, the scariest part this year is our injuries, and
absolutely.
Hopefully, this is it. As far as the big injury, I mean, I see a guy go down now. You're afraid he's going to
Yeah,
He blew his shoulder out or
exactly.
something. Like,
Absolutely.
can't we just get a tweak, a little bump, a bruise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do agree with you. I kind of had the passing offense as well. Um, Biggest note I have is Goddard. I know we definitely need to use AJ, of course, more, but Goddard is the catalyst of this offense, man. He's a big deal. He's the biggest mismatch we have against other teams. People can guard Devontae. People can guard AJ. I don't believe Dallas Goddard is very guardable player. I mean, as a tight end, he's fast, he's big, he can block, he can run. He's just you gotta be using him more.
Yeah.
You gotta have him in the offense more, and it needs to be a big part of the offense. Next thing I'll jump to is were we happy with our chosen players? Last week you chose Christian Ellis. I know, unfortunately, I don't think he even sniffed the field.
I don't think so.
He maybe had some plays on special teams, but I don't think he had even a snap on the defense.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him, so I don't know if he got in. I'm hoping he did, but
yeah, I mean,
because we still want him in there. We need the young guy, like I say, got to get him time. Everybody's got to have time.
Yeah, I think Morrow played really well, and that's probably why they didn't have Ellis in that much. Cunningham played well too, but we'll get on to that a little bit. But I'm gonna go ahead and talk about my player. I chose DeAndre Swift last week, so I'm doing pretty good on 2 for 2. But the week before, I chose Jalen Carter, and he impressed as heck. So I chose DeAndre Swift, who, of course, had 28 attempts rushing for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. He also had only 3 catches for 6 yards, not too impressive on the air. But like I said, we didn't really throw the ball much to our backs because they were too busy leading the team and carrying us on their back. He played amazing, and the offensive line is my selection for the MVP. I know you'd want to say DeAndre Swift, but a little too easy there. My MVP of the game is the offensive line. Offensive line was unbelievable. Like I said, opening up holes that were big enough for 2 or 3 of me to run through. Just incredible play by the offensive line all around. I hope you saw Jordan Mailata. He is the highest rated he's the highest rated offensive lineman in PFF history this last week. He had like a 96.1 or something like that, and it's the highest rated any offensive lineman has been in PFF history, and it's the highest since 2012. Evan Mathis, who was also an Eagle.
Right.
But what do you have to say about both DeAndre Swift and the MVP?
Well, I know when we talked earlier after last week's game, and we kept saying, what are we looking for? And I kept saying, I'm looking for Swift to take one of those handoffs and go to the right side and go around the end. And then when he took that one, and I went, that's what we want to do now. Hurts tried a few and it didn't work. He did that 1 first down early in the game. But, once Swift took that outside, it was over because then he started going off tackle, left side, right side. I mean, it was shooting fish in a barrel at one point.
Yeah.
I mean, he was getting 9 yards a clip. I mean, it was incredible. And it was a pucker factor game. We were pretty nervous about it early on, and even though all those opportunities we had, and I've seen that so many times where they got 4 fumbles, we got the ball at the 30 and we're not even scoring points. I mean, those are the games that you lose.
Absolutely.
So I could see that trend. And then, of course, we went up big, but, for some reason, we just don't have that killer instinct like we did last year. But again, we just didn't have it together yet.
Yeah.
They scored 2 times quickies, you know. But, when we took the ball right before halftime, that was kind of when I knew we were back because we took that ball with 32 seconds, and we were at the, 20? And we drove all the way down to kick a 61-yarder, which is, that's kind of a joke. But,
right.
I mean, but it meant we got ourselves down to the 44-yard line or something like that to kick a 61-yarder. But, that's incredible. And I read some stats on that, too. Elliott's the first kicker with 62 kicks, 61-yard field goals, 2 of them in a career.
Yeah. Well, I know he's the 5th player in NFL history to have 2 60-yarders in his career, which is incredible. But,
And and you're kicking in the vet. It's not a field goal friendly stadium.
Absolutely.
And the weather was good. Obviously, we knew about that. But yeah, it was amazing. It was incredible. And at that point, I felt like we had 13-7 halftime. We'd stopped them from scoring. And then, of course, what happened early in the third quarter with the sack fumble and that sweat tackle was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Next one we're going to talk about is going to be, or actually, I'm sorry. Who did you have as MVP of the game? You choose Elliott?
I would say yes.
Okay, gotcha.
I would say yes. I mean, there was a couple. I mean, obviously Swift and obviously the offensive line. But I would say Elliott, for what he's done the first 2 weeks and that confidence of kicking. I mean, he shanked a 55-yarder, which was unfortunate. And
Yeah.
again, that was another one of those early ons.
You don't like to miss those. You don't like to miss that one.
No.
But a 55-yarder, I can't always get upset.
No.
Because a 50-yarder, I can get different on. 48-yarder, I'd be upset. But a 55-yarder, you can't make every one.
But at that point in the game, it was only 3-0, I think, and it was you need them.
You give them the ball at the half.
Yeah, and they did move the ball on us. I mean, our defensive line, guys, our defensive line is incredible.
It's real.
We may not have the sacks, doesn't matter. I mean, if you can continue to push like that, and we get some of them DBs and some of them kids up, we're going to get 25 interceptions this season. I really feel that.
I mean, Carter, Davis, Cox, Williams, and then even Sweat. And it's funny because Sweat at one point lined up as a defensive tackle and had a huge play. But though that 5 has been amazing. I know Reddick we want to start seeing more of, which again last year, first 2 games of the season, he did not have a tackle.
Incredible.
So I'll be okay with that. Yeah. But we want to see a little bit more from him. But overall, those 5 that I just listed off, I mean, they've just been incredible. And even though you're right, they're not getting home. We only have 4 sacks this season.
Right.
They are getting in this face, and they forced many incompletions on Kirk, and last week on Mac Jones.
And it's going to happen. Yeah, it's good. That just sacks are like fishing.
Yeah,
you're going to catch some fish eventually. You're going to get those sacks. One of these games, we just need to get the pressure and an early sack, get that quarterback a little bit, and maybe that's Baker Mayfield. Get him a little bit rattled, and then it's over. He's not going to want to throw the ball in the coverage, and he's going to be getting hit from behind. So,
jumping on to our next segment that I talked about, one we're going to be debuting today. It's going to be called Under the Nest. This is going to focus on under-the-radar plays that may be overshadowed or forgotten, plays that had a huge part in the swing of the game, had a big deal in why we won, but plays that really aren't going to be shown maybe on SportsCenter or ESPN and aren't going to be talked about as much. What do you have first for your offensive play?
For my offensive play, I picked the Swift running outside. I know it's not really an under-the-nest play, but that was kind of one of his earlier runs. I think it was his 4th run, as a matter of fact. I looked it up. Okay. So that put him at 4 carries for 24 yards. So he was getting 6 yards a carry at that point. But his first couple carries, 3, 4, and then he busted that one. I know it probably made SportsCenter, but that was my under-the-nest play.
For sure, yeah. My offensive under-the-nest play, you're going to think I'm choosing an obvious one until I tell you what it really is. Obviously, Boston Scott had that huge run at the end of the first half. It's an 18-yard run. That was overshadowed by the field goal, but even my play was overshadowed by the Boston Scott run. Our left guard, Landon Dickerson, on that play to get Boston Scott that 18-yard hole to get us into the ability to kick a field goal. Left guard, Landon Dickerson, he made a man look like a boy. He threw he didn't throw Landon Dickerson. Landon Dickerson pancaked the guy. And that guy was next to Scott. He was almost in reach of Scott, and Dickerson threw him to the ground violently. And it broke open that run, which then broke open the chance to kick that field goal, in which turned that 61-yard field goal, I think, made a big deal and sparked the offense, the defense, like I said before. But next for the defense, what do you have for your
So on the defense, this is kind of a strange one because it didn't really affect anything in the game. But when Cox picked up the fumble from Sweat, Morrow came around and whacked the guy that was tackling Cox. In a little better situation, he would have knocked that guy off him and Cox would have gotten in the end zone. So, I mean, it was one of those plays when I saw it, I was like, wow, what a great hustling play. And it also made me feel this guy Morrow is playing out of his mind right now. Because he did not hesitate. If you watch the replay, Cox picks the ball up and is running, looks like he's going to score easily. One of the offensive line come around and grab him, and Morrow comes in and whacks the guy. And it kind of knocked both of them to the ground. Yeah. But he pounded the guy. So awesome. That would be what I would consider an under-the-nest play because you're not going to see that on SportsCenter. Of course, but, in a perfect situation, he would have knocked him off Cox. Cox would have walked in the end zone. Touchdown. But I was glad to see us offensively score that touchdown. I didn't want the defensive touchdown.
I know.
I wanted to see our 3 or 4 plays from the 6-yard line and see what happened.
All right. My under-the-nest defensive play is going to be at 13 minutes and 47 seconds left in the third quarter. It was right after Sweat had that sack fumble for Cox to pick it up and get us there for our offense to score. After that, Zach Cunningham on 1st and 10. They threw a screen to Alexander Madison out of the backfield. And Cunningham, who was hidden behind an offensive lineman and defensive lineman who were engaging, he still recognized it even from seeing and being behind those dudes, and ran in and tackled him for a 5-yard loss. That 5-yard loss made it 2nd and 15. Next play was a throw out to Madison again, and he was stopped for no gain. And the next play was an incomplete pass downfield. And then they punted it. It was a 3 and out. We went down and scored again, made it 27-7, and didn't put the game away, unfortunately, but effectively put the game somewhat more out of reach. So that, to me, was the under the nest play. Made my Zach Cunningham in the third quarter. Phenomenal job.
That like you say, with 27-7, there was, I think, 10 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game, and I went in the third quarter, and I went, we're up, but it's too much time. I was just kind of like, hopefully we can put this away at the time.
Yeah.
To be up like that, and it also, you could see the air go out of the balloon on the other side of the field. Those guys we were up 27-7. They hadn't scored since early in the first, or late in the first. But anyway, so we were up 20 points, and it looked like we were on the verge of a roll.
Yeah.
It didn't quite happen. There was a couple, like I say, when they took the A.J. Brown touchdown away from us on that wackadoodle penny hold, which was Hurts is already
ridiculous.
10 yards away running around the outside. But
ridiculous.
If you're going to call that one, man, make sure you call the ones where the guys are pulling up under our chins, and of course the
Sweat.
Hands to the face on the one missed sack that the Sweat got, and that was kind of early in the game. But
that was the one where he was lined up at defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
And you got to call that because
under the nest, under the radar.
Yeah. But you got to call that penalty because it changes the game. And it's obvious to me,
Watching
where I'm
on
sitting,
TV.
with the distractions and everything. These guys are watching specifically for that.
Yeah.
And you could see, the guy's punching him in the face mask.
You're 3 beers in and you can see
Yeah.
it. So why can't you?
Yeah, I just was upset about that.
Jumping over to talk about in other news, that's our finish up of that game. You have anything else to say about that game?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Just, the fumble out of the end zone was huge, but
whatever.
It wasn't just that. It was the drive with 30 seconds before halftime. We weren't moving the ball. We could have sat it. We could have taken a knee, said we're kicking off to them. No, we went right down the field and scored.
Yeah, I should have said that. The
Beautiful.
Landon Dickerson knockdown pancake was with 29 seconds left in the half. That's
Beautiful.
why it's
and it was running plays, too. It's incredible.
Yep. All right, going into other news, we're going to talk a little bit more about the injuries that we mentioned. Obvious one was the loss of Avonte Maddox. It's looking like, and it's not official, it's looking like he might be out for the season, which is really hard because this happens to him all the time. It seems like every year he misses at least 4 to 5 games ever since his rookie year. So it is really hard to watch that happen, especially because he's a player that when he plays with passion, he plays with heart, he plays every down like it's his last. You never see him take a playoff. He's always running fast to the ball. He's always going at it. So it's just painful to see, but it's also painful to take.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much longer we as a team can afford to keep him around, taking the starting position and then constantly getting hurt. But what do you have to say about Maddox?
Well, it's unfortunate. He's 27 years old. He's been with us for many years. I was looking at his games played, games started. He's been a big part of our team. And like you said, he definitely plays well. And it's funny because in this off-season, preseason, I kind of forgot about him, and I'm like, oh, that's right. We still got Maddox. That's great, But I think it's because I think in 2019 he went out in November for the year, and then another time he missed 4 or 5 or 6 games, and that was right there. He didn't play that many games. Now in 2021 he did, and of course they don't have anything from last year, so I couldn't go off that. But which is strange to me. But there's several games that he it stretches,
Yeah.
So
just painful to see.
But hopefully it's just a 4-week thing or something, because we definitely need our guys that are the young boys to at least get some veteran experience and training and help and be there to help them out.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, hard to watch happen. He's been with us since 2018, so this will be his 6th year, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Am I doing that wrong? Yeah, 6th year. So he's great. I think he started off with us as a safety. I remember he was like the fastest rookie coming out of his class. He ran like a 4.38, something like that. He's a really fast dude, but it just really painful to watch. I just don't want to see that happen to him. But I like I said, I just don't know how much more room we have on the team for him going forward. But jumping over, it looks like Cox played fine. I know he had that rib injury we talked about.
Yeah.
Looked like he was fine. And then
he's playing out of his mind.
He really is.
I haven't seen him play that well in 3 years.
Since 18, I would
Seriously.
say, honestly.
And the way I don't, they feed off each other, but Jordan Davis, dude, he is.
It's not a joke.
I mean, he is. I know Carter's been the talk of the town, but
Yes.
Davis, my Lord, he was in the face of Cousins on that one play early in the game, and
Oh, yeah.
and not just that, he didn't hit him. He kicked his hands out to his side and just ran right into him.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It's
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
It is.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, to see Cox and Jordan Davis. And I know I mentioned all
Oh,
those
my
guys already,
gosh.
but just how well they're playing. And it's given Cox almost a new life.
Oh.
I mean, the fact that he doesn't
New
have
lease on life.
Oh,
Yes,
absolutely.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Like the fact that he doesn't have to play every single snap. And I know this was happening before, but it wasn't as effective before because he would come out and then Hargrave would be in, and then we'd have a few other guys in the mix who just didn't play as well. So it was kind of like, oh, we need Cox back out there.
Right.
But now it's like, man, give Cox another play at resting, man. These guys are incredible.
It's funny because late in the game he was in on every play, and I kept
Yeah.
going, all right, maybe okay, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was the fourth quarter, and he was still out on the field like 2 or 3 plays in a row, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's get a
Yeah.
sack, baby.
And obviously, I know, like I said, we're recording the day after the game, which means there is no injury report today because they have not practiced today. So they will be practicing tomorrow. So next time we record, we'll talk a little bit more about the injury report, and hopefully hopefully no one's on it by that point. But obviously, there will be someone there. Speaking of Maddox, with him probably going to IR, I know they said they're gonna look for a different opinion, but probably looking like he's probably going to go on IR. Do you have anybody you think that it's going to be brought up from the practice squad? I know you got your roster there.
I'm sure some will. I'm not sure exactly who we've got down there that could probably help out. But
Looking like, I mean, I know Mario Goodrich is set up to be our backup nickel. I would say we're probably going to be. It looks like Mekhi Garner is our only cornerback that we
that's what I'm
have
looking at. Yeah.
on the practice squad, so he'll probably be the one that's brought up. I know Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks and Bradbury, of course, was getting slot snaps on the inside with the second team and the first team. So looks like Ringo and Eli Ricks, they might be getting some snaps out there on the outside.
Ringo, of course, played a bunch, but Ricks, I don't think I saw much of out there.
Probably was getting some special team snaps, but I did not see it as well. He was probably on the gunning and the kick return team.
Which is fantastic. I mean, get him playing time. Let's see what we got. No,
well, there wasn't a single kick return yesterday, I don't believe, right? There wasn't a single kick return.
No,
there
a
was
kickoff return. No, there was
No.
that one punt return.
So yeah, neither team had a kick return. So
Yeah.
again, the kick return kickoff team was non-existent yesterday. But hopefully we get some good news on injuries coming up. Hopefully, I mean, like I said, Avante is going to be seeking another opinion. Hopefully he can be back in 3 or 4 weeks. Get him on the IR. Get someone else some snaps in practice. But we don't want to lose him for the season. That's for sure. Jump on over. Like I said, next thing we're talking about, we're going to be playing Monday, September 25th versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. Nice to have 2 away games to begin the season, especially starting 2-0. You definitely want to get those away games out of the way as early as possible in the season. Funny thing, he kind of mentioned to me. Obviously, we always talk about the Phillies. The Phillies are going to play 10 games before the Eagles play next, and I believe the Philadelphia Union, are going to be playing 2 games before we play next. The Union play Saturday, so tomorrow to us. They play tomorrow, and then tonight the Phillies play. I believe they're playing against the Cardinals again. Let me see, I have it right here. Yeah, they're playing against the Cardinals. They're playing right now, and they're winning 4-0, top of the second. My friend Ben is a Cardinals fan, so go Phils, bud.
Right.
Anything to say about the Phillies or the Union?
Not really.
I know the Union right now are sitting 4th in the East. Tomorrow they'll be playing against FC Cincinnati, which is the best team in the league right now.
They're good.
So a little bit of a scary one going into. I don't know how many
Yeah.
Union fans we have out there watching, but if you're watching, Union. Next thing we'll jump into is going to be our All-Pro Legends segment. My dad is going to be choosing the player this week. So, Dad, what do you got for me?
Okay, well, last week you hit me with I was going to stay in the 2010s, but last week you hit me with somebody from the 90s, so I did the same thing this week.
Oh, wow.
This guy was a 3rd-round pick, 1997 draft, played with us for 7 years, 64 starts, I think out of 85 total games, 22 rush touchdowns in his 7 years, 10 receiving touchdowns in his 7 years, rushing yards, 4,807 yards, receiving, 2,498 receiving yards. So you should have an idea of what position he plays by
yeah,
now.
I've got him now, but keep on going.
Okay. I'm probably going to burn it here, but he was actually the running back coach for the Eagles from 2013 to 2020. And he was assistant head coach from 2018 to 2020. And he's a Super Bowl winning coach as a running backs coach.
Gotcha. You want me to spoil it?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've
No,
got it.
it's your pick.
It's the pickle juice boy.
It sure is.
The pickle juice boy, Deuce Staley.
Deuce Staley.
Deuce Staley.
Deuce is
number,
loose.
Number 22. Yeah, he was great. He was really great. I remember the 7 years got me because I did the math, and I knew he left in 2003 because he wasn't on the Super Bowl team. In 2004, the team that went to the Super Bowl.
Right.
He wasn't on that team. He went to Pittsburgh, and then he won a Super Bowl as a player in 2005.
Right.
He didn't play, but he won a Super Bowl back in 2005 as a player.
Played for Pittsburgh for 3 years.
Yeah.
2 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, he was
0 receiving touchdowns.
His first year with Pittsburgh in 2004, he played pretty well. I think I remember he had like 800, 900 yards, quite a few touchdowns, or maybe just 2 touchdowns.
Just 2 touchdowns.
Played okay, and then I think in 2006 and 2007 he didn't play at all. He was injured a lot.
It was a shame.
But he had a great tenure as a player with us and a great tenure as a coach with us. And best of luck to him. I really thought I don't want to speak bad of anyone because I really thought he should have been the offensive coordinator after Frank Reich left. I know that's a whole different time and a whole different coaching regime ago with Doug Peterson.
Yes.
I really thought after Frank Reich left to go to Indianapolis, I thought that should have been the year Deuce Staley should have become the offensive coordinator. Unfortunately, it didn't end up happening that way. But
he was assistant head coach for 3 seasons. And he was elevated after the Super Bowl by Dougie P.
Yeah.
To of course he hung around with Dougie P. But it was just that normal progression. You thought, okay, he's going to be our offensive coordinator because he was the running backs coach forever.
Yeah.
But it was unfortunate and
a running backs coach of a always great running back group.
Yes.
I mean, he was the running backs coach from 2013, you said.
Yes.
So he was with LaShawn back in the day. He was with Shady.
Oh, yeah.
Assistant head coach when in the 2018 to 2020 years. I know those are kind of the abysmal years of our times. But as a running backs coach from 2013 to 2020, that would have meant he had Shady. That would have meant he had Blunt and Ajayi and Clement in that Super Bowl season.
Yes.
He had Shady for 3 years or 2013. Yeah, 2 years with him. But that's hard. I know he had DeMarco Murray, which would have been a struggle for him.
So my question to you is he considered a pro, an all-pro, or a Philadelphia Eagles legend?
That's hard because Deuce is definitely, in my opinion, a top 5 Eagles running back of all time. However, you didn't list off that he had any Pro Bowls or All-Pros or anything.
Right.
That's where it hurts. That's where it hurts your chances of being a legend.
Yeah. Not just that. I mean, if you go to career stats, 22 touchdowns in 7 seasons.
Yeah.
And 10 receiving touchdowns. That's 32 touchdowns in 7 years. It cuts into it a little bit.
I would say All-Pro.
I would give him an All-Pro.
I would go All-Pro. As a coach, I'm going legend.
Yeah, there you go.
As a coach,
yeah.
So overall legend.
Yeah,
but as a player, we're doing players only.
Right.
It has to be All-Pro. I loved him. He was great. He was fun. He was like Westbrook before Westbrook.
Definitely.
Obviously, Westbrook
took it over.
He took it to a new level with the touchdowns and everything. Yeah. That Deuce didn't have those numbers.
But
Deuce
he
had
kind
the
of
yards.
was part of Westbrook's
introduction.
Development.
Yeah. The same way Westbrook was for Shady.
Right.
Later in 2010, 2009, 2010, Shady got that intro by Westbrook, of course. Yeah. Another great who maybe we can talk about him another week, maybe. But
there you go.
I kind of know my rating for him. But other than that, you got anything else to say about
No, it's going
to be
it's going to be 10 good days here. It's going to be fun watching the games this weekend, and of course next weekend too, and a Thursday night game without any stress.
It's amazing.
I mean, it's been rough the first 4 episodes we've here, punching them out, trying to get them going, especially with our first time doing the podcast. And all the time trying to get it out so that everybody gets gets to watch it and listen to it.
Gets their fill before the games, definitely.
Now we're not seeing a lot of comments or emails, but we are
Thanks,
hearing
JJ.
We're hearing it from a lot of the people at the bar that are watching it, listening to it, and people we see in person. So we appreciate that, but get some comments on there. Yeah. Make sure you like it and all that, so we can get going here. But other than that, no, Baz, I don't have anything. It's been a good 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's been fun.
It has been. Yeah. Shout out to JJ, one of our guys from the group. He's no longer with the group. Well, he's with the group, of course, but
In
he
spirit.
with Spirit in every single game. He's in the military, so he's moving around all the time. I don't even know where he is right
He's in
now.
Texas
He
right
was
now.
in Texas
Yeah.
last time I talked, so he must still be there.
Yeah.
Thanks for hearing from me. I appreciate hearing from you, JJ. Thanks for commenting, and love talking to you on Sunday for that FaceTime. And thank you, Craig, for calling over for me.
Definitely.
But other than that, yeah, we'll go ahead and say our goodbyes, bid a good farewell. You can go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter or X. Please like and subscribe and comment below with any questions or topics you want us to talk about in the podcast. You can email us at oureaglestherapy@gmail.com. Again, questions, comments, concerns, anything you want us to say, anything you want us to leave out, or you can start telling us to stop giving me shout outs on your podcast if Kim or JJ wants to do that. But other than that, everyone here at Our Eagles Therapy Podcast, my name is Basil.
And I am Baz.
Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.